Andre, you're going to have to unmute yourself, please. Andre, please unmute yourself.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to start this meeting this morning at 10:05 a.m. First of all, I'd like to welcome the new member to the Ddot team, Mr. Michael Staley. Welcome to Ddot and welcome to the Ddot LAC. And right now, I would like to get approval of the minutes for May 17th, 2022. Okay, I need a first motion.
Ms. Roundtree, can you do that?
Yes, I move that we accept the minutes from the last meeting.
Okay, and I need a second motion.
Faye, can you second that for us, please?
Yes, I second it. Did you
Okay,
hear me? Did you hear?
Yes, we heard you.
okay. Okay, at this time, I do not have anything to report at this time. So we'll move to the next item on the agenda, which would be the.
We need, excuse me, you need to vote on the
Oh, I'm sorry.
minutes.
Okay. 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 Is there any objections? Okay. Motion carried. Okay. Next on the agenda is the Ddot administrative reports. And start with Michael Oglesby, Executive Director.
Yes, indeed. How are you doing today?
Fine. How are you, Mr. Oglesby?
Fantastic. Good to see you again. Seems like it was just yesterday.
Yes.
There's a lot going on, a lot of great stuff going on. I'm sure once staff goes around, they'll be able to talk about a few of them. But some of the highlights are that we launched our 4 electric Proterra buses. They're in service, they're doing well. The goal of launching them is to see whether those are the style of buses for our zero emission fleet plan moving forward. We are monitoring their performance. We are getting input. As a matter of fact, I believe we even brought the electric bus to a WOW event, so folks could get on from a
Yes.
from a different standpoint to kind of let us know, what everyone thinks about the bus overall, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And everybody gave fantastic input, so we documented all of that. We launched 28 buses just recently, 28 biodiesel. They're basically similar to the newer ones that we currently have out there. The only difference is, as the years progress, just like a computer or anything else, they get a little bit better. So the emissions are a little bit better. And those 28 replaced 28 of the 48 older 2010s, those old style buses that people are kind of complaining about.
Yes.
Yeah, where we replaced 28 of those with another 10 on the way by the end of the year. And we're hoping by the first quarter of next year, an additional 10, which will add up to 48, and the entire 2010 fleet will be gone. That's exciting because then our next step is to do the exact same thing in that process, with the 2012 vehicles, right? Because a lot of people have complained, really, our operators really complain about them more than anything else. They're not a new flyer bus like you normally see. It's a unique style Gillig bus. So we'll be working on those next.
Okay.
One exciting thing that just happened this morning, we applied for a grant for another 4 electric vehicles, and we were granted $6.9 million for 4 more electric buses and the fueling infrastructure. Well, what does that mean? It means we're going to be moving forward with purchasing electric buses, but another style. So we have Proterra buses out now. New flyer buses, which are similar to our normal buses, make an electric bus. So we're going to get 4 of those. We're going to get 2 40-footers, and then we're going to get 2 60-foot vehicles. And if you don't know what the 60-foot one is, it's the long one with the little bendy thing in the middle.
Yeah.
We're getting 2
Looks
of
like
those.
Euphoria. Yeah.
Right. We're
Yep.
getting 2 of those, and the goal here is to run those in a pilot program to decide which vehicle operates best in the city of Detroit. We want to run them through everything that Detroit has to offer, from the weather to the streets, everything, to see what is the long version. So we have that. Also, a lot of people are familiar with the ARPA replacement fund process that we went through, and there's a total of about 50 million. I'm looking to make sure I have the right number. And we went through the whole public input process. We have everything put together. I can't wait to kind of announce where everything fell out. So stay tuned. I'll be doing that at the first city council meeting they allow me to. I'll make sure that I get in touch with this group to stay tuned, because everybody gave input, including all of you. And we'll see what the outcome is, and hopefully we'll get support to move those projects forward. Short version, even though I'm not supposed to really talk about it, bus shelters, incentives, but driver incentives, bus stop seating, transit hubs, Rosa Parks enhancement, everything that goes inside of it that will be discussed, that was mentioned. I think a lot of people will really be happy. And then on top of that, we're doing something that everyone asked for, Ddot Reimagined, which is a comprehensive operational analysis, or more importantly, taking a look at what the system is today and what does it need to look like today and in the future, with the input of the riders and the input of the operators. I mean, everybody. So we're going through that full process. As a matter of fact, I believe every advocacy group has been invited this week. I believe it's either Wednesday or Thursday. I don't have it in front of me, but everybody's going to give input, and I'm really excited to use that information to advance Ddot to the next level. And of course, we're hiring drivers. So if you know somebody, I'll use this plug. I don't care where I'm at. I'm going to say it if I'm on TV or wherever I'm at, but we're hiring drivers. We're doing a great job bringing operators in. But it's pretty interesting. We hired since January 113 operators, but of all of them, only approximately 36 are slated to be out there on the road. So that's not good. They're either activist students, or they're trainees, or they're actually on the road. So it goes to show that we're not short because of effort. We're short because of retention. There's various reasons, probably from salary all the way to other places. I just saw an advertisement where you can work at Arby's for probably $3 more than operator. So we're competing with all kinds of opportunities that are out there. Everybody's grabbing for the operators. And then the last part, I'll give you a quick update on paratransit. So as everybody knows, the goal is to, by the end of the year, have paratransit under the Ddot belt, all of the positions that are the controlling positions, and then subcontract to actual local providers. So there's two pieces going on. One, Mr. Staley's on board helping me spearhead this, and we're looking for manager of customer service, manager of eligibility, and manager of contract operations as we speak, and then all of those other positions. So we have the left side, which is all of the internal positions that we're putting together. Simultaneously, we put out an RFP for providers to bid on. Those that has been concluded. It's going through the process now. And again, at the very first city council meeting, we'll be announcing what the outcome is. It's still going through the process. I believe they're in the contract stages right now, so I can't get into the specifics, but I can tell you both portions are moving along, and we're on track to take over paratransit by the end of the year. And with that, that's my update.
Okay, well, sounds great. Thank you, Mr. Oglesby.
Thank you.
Andre, before you go on, I just want to make an announcement. We were to have an interpreter, but I got an email yesterday that she's in South Africa this morning and would not be able to interpret. If anybody needs interpreting services, please let me know by writing in the chat so that we can figure out a way to get this meeting to you in some form of context. So I'm sorry for that mix-up, and we'll go on. But right now, I don't see anybody on the list that would need interpretive services. I don't see Marguerite here today, so I'm not quite sure if there is anybody. But if you do need those services, let me know. Okay, Andre, back to you.
Okay. Okay, next we have Marianne Walsh, Deputy Director of the Administration.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm going to dovetail a little off the executive director. I have been very busy trying to hire bus operators. Pleased to say that we had a job fair this week and another job fair which is virtual today, and 2 more job fairs are scheduled for September. And the hopes is to get our complement of bus operators up to our budgeted number, which will help improve service on the street. I've also been involved with monitoring the hiring for the Ddot paratransit positions, establishing the job descriptions and reviewing candidates. And also I'm overseeing customer service and am pleased that they have been following up on any complaints and commendations that we do receive in a timely manner. And those are my only updates.
Okay, thank you, Marianne.
Thank you.
And next, Zandra Wimberly, Assistant Director.
I don't believe Ms. Wimberly is on the meeting, Andre.
Okay. Okay, Melvin Barkley, Deputy Director of Operations and Vehicle Maintenance.
Good morning. The director took a lot of what I had to talk about, but I'm going to follow up with, as we've been talking about how to hire operators. We currently have 32 students in our training course.
Okay.
So we look to plan how those on the road within the next 2 months. Also, we're currently going through de-escalation training with our operators. This is to help us with our customer service, to help our operators be able to deal with the public in a better manner so that we can continue to transport people safely and secure. Lastly, we have brought on board 6 new road supervisors. This is to help us monitor the service on the road and address any concerns that passengers may have and look at our service to make sure we have service on the road and move things around if needed. That's all I have at this time, Mr. Bryant.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Barkley. Okay, next, Michael Staley, Manager of Paratransit.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for your welcome, Mr. Bryant. I guess all I really have to say is just to introduce myself and tell everybody a little bit about my background. The executive director pretty much indicated what's currently going on in paratransit, but let me do a little bit of an introduction. My name is Michael Staley. I've been on site at Ddot since June 27th. For the past 36 years, I've worked in paratransit in nearly every capacity. Half of that time was spent working for private companies. The other half of the time was spent doing consulting work for private companies and public agencies alike. As the executive director indicated earlier, we're in the process right now of filling the managerial positions for paratransit at Ddot. And then thereafter, we'll move very quickly on beginning to hire frontline staff, including reservationists, dispatchers, schedulers, road supervisors, and the like. We anticipate that we'll begin training for new hires and doing remedial and refresher training for other individuals that we hire beginning on or about October 1st. And again, as the executive director indicated earlier, we have a hard go live date of January 1st, 2023. Again, I've been on site for a little over 5 weeks, and we're about 135 days out from our go live date. So obviously the pace is beginning to pick up very rapidly on everything that we need to put in place in order to be ready to go at the first of the year. That's pretty much it, unless there's some specific questions.
Oh, no. Thank you. And again, welcome.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Okay. And next will be Ricky Brown, Chief Transit Police.
Good morning. I apologize for the audio issue. Real quick report. We successfully hired another transit yesterday.
We're having a real hard
Excuse me,
time
Chief.
hearing you, Chief.
Can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm having serious audio issues. Can you hear me now?
Barely.
It's static.
Well, you're gonna have
Yeah.
to skip me until I get this repaired.
Okay, can you send us a written summary of some of the talking points, and we'll include those into the minutes so that the LAC can read them at that point.
Don, is there any way he can just call in on his cell phone?
I could, yeah.
All right.
Chief, can you do that? It's the 312-626, I think 7966 number.
Say it again, Don.
I believe it's 312-626. I think it's 7966. Tell me if I'm wrong, but that's the universal number. Okay. If you go to the Ddot website and go to LAC, you'll see the website with the call-in information there. Okay, we'll move on and get back to you, Chief.
Okay. And next, Robert Speck, Chief Safety Officer.
Good morning. My name is Richard Zeck, Chief Safety Officer for Ddot.
Can you mute yourself, Chief, please? Thank you.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Good morning, Richard Zeck, Chief Safety Officer for Ddot. Related to the ADA field, safety has worked with operations and plant maintenance to make sure the appropriate number of doors are unlocked and accessible to ADA at Rosa Parks Transit Center, and that the appropriate ADA buttons are working at Rosa Parks Transit Center. That's the update that I have for today.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next, Robert Granger, Interim Assistant Deputy Director of Vehicle Maintenance.
I'd like to say good morning and mention that this past Monday, we were happily to add to our family and maintenance 2 maintenance instructors. These instructors are going to be very valuable. And as Mr. Ogilvie mentioned, we have 28 new buses that we put on the road. So as we get these buses, they do have new technology.
Okay.
these buses, and the new instructors are going to be very valuable in bringing that training and teaching to our mechanics. That's all I have for maintenance right now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next, Geojoy, manager of maintenance.
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Geojoy. I work as a vehicle maintenance manager. And currently we are working on the new bus purchase, as Mr. Oglesby mentioned, currently going through the 10 new buses, bus build process and the selection. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next, Steve Petronick, Executive Manager, Service Development and Scheduling.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I'm going to try not to repeat what other people have said, and it gets kind of difficult when you're near the end. So the Ddot Reimagined comprehensive operational analysis was mentored by Mr. Oglesby. I'll just give a little status about where we are on that. We've completed the network evaluation after we had all the transit talks and citywide meetings and the outreach. So we've gotten hundreds of surveys back, and then our consultants wrote up a network evaluation. And then the next steps this week, actually, we're going to have an advocates meeting and a stakeholders meeting, which are going to be live meetings here in Detroit. And then after that, we'll get into reevaluating the network design and having a proposal. So that's where we are right now. And thank you very much. Good morning, everyone.
Okay. Thank you.
Andre, before you go on, I believe Chief Brown has connected by phone. Chief, if you're, I think you have to unmute yourself by phone, which is *6, and we'll let you provide your update.
Can you hear me now clearly?
Yeah, clearly, you sound real good, Chief.
Yes.
Thank you. Real quick, I'd just like to give a quick update. We were successfully in hiring a new transit officer, and we're continuing to pursue the hiring of more officers with the assistance of Ddot and now the People Mover. They're putting forth a strong push to help us recruit and retain personnel. Other than that, no other news from me is good news. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Okay, next, Gina Schofield, Assistant Manager, Service Development and Scheduling.
I don't believe she's on the meeting.
Okay. Okay, next we have Eunice Lovey, Grants Manager.
Eunice, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Basically, what I have to report is we've been working with MDOT to submit the specialized application, services application for FY 2023. And that's all I have at this time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next, Simone Moore, General Manager of Metrolift.
Good morning, thank you. Again, Simone Moore, General Manager of Metrolift. As far as paratransit updates are concerned, earlier this summer, we were able to incorporate a new provider, Big Star Transit. Big Star was brought on as one of our national transit partners to help us enhance the paratransit service. So far, they have proven to be doing a phenomenal job. So you should see some of those vehicles out and about on the roads. Just as a reminder, we are also accepting new Freedom applications. The new Freedom application is slated to end at the end of the year, December 31st, 2022, as of right now. So applications can be obtained by calling our call center, 313-208-7363, option number 3 to request one, or you can also find that on the city's website and then just mail it back into the 100 Mac location, and the address is on the application. We are still scheduling reservations 7 days a week, Monday through Sunday, between 8 and 4, just as a reminder. We also accommodate same-day reservations. I know sometimes when people call in, they're all based on availability, and there had been a miscommunication when someone mentioned that we were not accepting reservations same day, but that is not the case. We are accepting same-day reservations, all based on availability though. Much like the rest of the world and Ddot, our organization is also working with limited amount of staff. So we do appreciate your patience when you are contacting our call center. And sometimes there are some extended waits on the phone line. So we do ask that you continue to pack your patience. And then we also have the EcoLane mobile app available for those who are able to schedule through the app. I know that there had been some discrepancies with the app, and those seem to be worked out. Sabrina Simmons, thank you so much for your presence with the EcoLane meeting that we had last week or the week before, and your feedback. And those are the paratransit updates. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Moore.
You're welcome.
Hey, Don Loza, ADA Compliance Manager.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bryant. Just again, would like to welcome Michael Staley to the Ddot family and look forward to all the changes that are going to happen within the within that system. Just a reminder to everybody that even though it's not mandatory, it would be in everybody's best interest to wear a mask if they're riding on either the fixed route or the paratransit system. We've had a conversation amongst the LAC about in-person LAC meetings. Just a reminder, folks, that we'll wait until City Council is meeting full-time in open session. So we have to take their lead before we get back to that. Just to let people know that we are, through the secret riders and through complaints, seeing a lot of concerns on the fixed route lines of wheelchair people being passed up and people being generally passed up. There is work being done to rectify that through the road supervisors and through the complaint process. So we hope to rectify that issue fairly soon. I've also been in contact with Chris Sapp, who's the head of the Disabilities Department, City of Detroit, about the website accessibility issues that we've had. That's going to take some time because it involves the whole city website system, but we are working on that to try to clean that up. I'm happy to report that as of September, we'll have 7 secret riders out and about checking on the system, and I've found them to be very helpful in terms of providing good feedback as to what's going on in terms of ridership. I'd also like to report for Ricky Yamakura, who couldn't make this meeting at the last minute. And he just said that the State Fairground Transit Center project is progressing, finalizing the design with construction to begin fairly soon. He and I have been working quite closely about accessibility issues and making sure that issues of parking and the cashier's office and just generally that the transit system will be accessible is done. And he also like to state that the Coolidge Terminal, the site architectural environmental assessments are continuing, and that's taking up all the activity there. So anyways, that's his report and my report, and that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lozen. Okay, next, go down now to new business. New business, and in new business, what I would like to do is give the LAC members a chance to voice any concerns or any comments that they may have. Does anyone have any comments or concerns?
Yes, James Jones, District 3. Yes, James Jones, District 3.
Okay, go ahead, James.
Oh, okay. I know we had talked to the director last year in a meeting. I mentioned to him about the intersections in District 3. Example would be 7 Mile and Ryan, where they've created a left turn lane, which has helped traffic, cut out a lot of accidents. But with the bus stops being so close to the intersection, it's blocking traffic. And this is a major problem. You have people passing in the left turn lanes just to try to get around the bus. At that time, he said he was going directly there after the meeting, and with the pandemic, I just hadn't mentioned it again, but hopefully he could give some feedback on that.
How are you doing? Thank you for the question. I have been dealing with so much stuff. I don't have the answer to that offhand. I'm gonna be honest with you. I do recall going out there, and I do recall at the time, I don't think Steve Petronic was on board if it was during the pandemic. So what I'll promise to you is let me take a look at my notes and figure out what we saw then, but I can assure you that the assessment is gonna be different with the new group of people that I have. I think I'm in better shape to be able to take a look at it. In addition, I want to take it and put it in as part of Ddot Reimagined, because there are various locations that have the same issue you just mentioned. Okay, so
Yes.
what I want to do is try to fix all of them. I'll definitely look at that one, but moreover, the goal is to look at the problem, and that's part of it. Looking to see which stops are too close. That's part of the assessment. It takes time. So that specific one, I don't have an answer for you to, but I do recall talking to you and mentioning that. So I do appreciate you bringing that back to my attention. I'll give it to planning, and I'll get you that answer, but hopefully I will have a better answer on what we're going to do to fix the entire problem. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that back up. I needed that.
Where was that location again?
7 Mile and Ryan. Basically, they're all over this district. That was just one intersection that I mentioned, because there's a high school there. So if you have a wheelchair, that really disables the intersection, and especially with the articulate buses now, with the length of the buses being longer, which wasn't a problem last year, but I think it's on a fixed route now.
Mm-hmm. Right. No, great point. I remember going out there, and that's the reason why I'm not giving you the direct answer for that, because as I went out there, I started looking and seeing it everywhere. Right?
Yes. Okay.
So we got a bigger problem you opened up, but that's good. That's going to go right into our study.
Thank you.
Okay, this is Yvonne Roundtree. I brought up about the doctor's offices that are moving out of the city into the suburbs because of parking, which means us that use Metrolift can't get out there. And I was wondering, have you come up with a solution of how Metrolift can go to some of these doctor's offices that are outside of the city? Some of them are on Northwest Highway. Some of them are not that far off. They're out in Southfield, because the medical center have offices out in the suburbs. So I was wondering, have you come up with a solution of how we get out there to these offices in that are out of the city? Anybody talked about it?
Yeah, I'd love to answer you, but I'm not familiar with the issue. Don, was this something that was brought up or?
I brought it up
Well, I
more
think
than
the bottom line is, we know that New Freedom will be terminating, and that people have some concerns because the demographics of the area have changed. And a lot of people have asking what's going to replace New Freedom and how we're going to get to that larger area, or what are the plans for any sort of same-day service that might get the population outside the city limits.
Is that, Ms. Roundtree, is that what you were saying? Because that sounded different than what was just said.
Yeah, well, like they tell us we can get smart, but smart will take forever to get to an office because you got to leave Metrolift, wait for a smart, pick you up, their service to pick you up, take you to the office. So you start like 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning to make a 9 o'clock appointment.
Right. So right now we have New Freedom, but that's not the solution. I'm sorry.
New Freedom, what is a good solution? It's ending. It should have been in years ago. They just never spent money. The point is there a way to solve the problem?
Right. I think internally we need to meet on this and get a little more clarity and detail. That'll be helpful. So internally, I'm going to put this on the radar because it doesn't appear as if New Freedom is actually the answer currently. So therefore, the extension of it would not help what you're talking about. So I think internally, let me get involved and get some staff together, and we'll have a discussion about it and see if we can come up with a solution. Plus, we have new staff coming on board, so you have to be patient with us. We're in a process of getting ready to take the whole thing over. So this is a big endeavor. But let us look at that a little closer.
Our offices out, and we got a lot of our customers, a lot of people that use whose doctors are moving out of the city because it costs too much for the provider.
Yeah, this sounds like a issue that's larger than Ddot. I may have to get some other folks in the city involved. We'll look at it.
Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone else concerns or comments?
Yeah, this is Rick Spivey from DAAA. I was going to request that Ms. Moore give me the phone number for the New Freedom application, but I'm a little confused once I heard the discussion with Ms. Roundtree. If New Freedom is terminated, why they have a phone number for applications?
Thank you, Simone Moore, Paratransit. The phone number, we're still accepting applications until the end of the program. There's still funding to be used for the program. So applications are being accepted until the end, until a month before the program ends, the end of the year. So November 30th, we're accepting applications until then, and you can write into the end of the year.
Okay.
And the phone number I'll put in the chat is 313-208-6363.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Now, I only have an option for host and panelists, not everyone.
Let me add to that too, Simone. What you said was spot on. In addition, the plan was to end it at the end of the year. As most know, we extended it 6 months and we extended it another year. My promise to you is I'm going to take another hard look at it over the next few months, since we're going to be taking everything over to see if there's a possibility to extend it again. Let me tell you what the roadblock is there. The process for extension is a little more complicated than it seems. But if the existing funds have not run out, I can actually extend it forward, and it'll just be a time extension, not a funding extension. So we're going to do an assessment of the dollar amount to see how much we have. For those that aren't familiar with this grant, it's a 50-50 match. So for example, if it costs $1 million, we have to come up with $1 million out of budget to advance it. There was a lot of criticism about advancing it before, as far as where are you going to get the money from? Should you do it? And then the other side was, why are you ending it and why are you not? So it's almost, you can't win for losing here, or can't lose for winning, or whichever way that statement goes. But we're going to try our best to take a look at it to see if there's any way we can move it forward. But right now, it is slated to end at the end of the year.
And I, from my experience with having DAAA people use the New Freedom is Metrolift, but New Freedom goes outside the city borders. So isn't that what Ms. Roundtree was referring to, is that the New Freedom is the program that goes out? So that's, instead of them using Metrolift, they lose New Freedom. Am I correct in that assessment?
10:40. Calendar messages.
No more. Yes, Mr. Spivey, you are correct with that assessment, but I believe that Ms. Roundtree was looking for something more long-term.
Right.
Okay.
That is true. That once that money, I help New Freedom, and money should have been a long time ago, just they never spent it. But once that money is, once that ends, then the people have gotten used to the program, it's gone, then what happens? Like I said, these doctors take their offices outside of the city, and people going to a doctor that they can't get to anymore because they don't have the freedom anymore or anything like it, except Smart. And then Smart will come up with all these reasons, whatever you got to go through. Like you got to start leaving 3 or 4 hours before your appointment.
That's correct. We hear you loud and clear. We're going to have an internal assessment, and we'll let you know.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions or concerns?
Sabrina Simmons.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. So I have a question in regards to the paratransit service. I've visited other cities and talked to individuals in other cities, and along with their normal paratransit service, they also additionally have something like 4 rides per month where they can actually get a taxi cab and pay $5 for that ride and go to anywhere they need to go. This may resolve that issue. So it's a limit on the number, but it becomes available within, I think it's up to a $30 ride in the city. You can get it for $5 to ride paratransit, and they have a limited number. I wanted to know if that's been explored or thought about, and if not, can we investigate to see if that's something that is possible to do here in the city of Detroit. It is my understanding that as far as Oakland County, they do have something on their ballot this coming up election that they are going to vote on countywide transportation. So that may be a bonus for us too, depending on the transfer point. But I really would like that we investigate to see if that taxi cab service or an Uber service or a Lyft service can be made available to those who ride paratransit and need to get outside of the city. It won't resolve those people who work out in the suburbs, but it could resolve those who may have 1 or 2 doctor's appointments a month. Thank you.
Okay, let me start to talk a little bit about that, Mr. Staley, if you'd like to jump in, and or Simone, please do. Uh, I'm familiar with some programs like that. I've actually run one myself, but it was based off of a grant, which was a limited time to be able to get a voucher to take taxis. One of the challenges in doing that, and now with the addition of Uber and Lyft, is from a training standpoint. When we have control under Metrolift, we're able to make sure that the operators are trained to handle those with disabilities. So that one is an interesting one that we can look at. But I know there are some snafus. My question to you would be, you said that you are familiar with the location. Do you have that location to help us call to see whether they're doing this, what color the money is, or what funding is being used, whether it's FTA, grant fund, or general fund money?
Yeah, actually it's Cook County in Illinois, Chicago.
Okay, very good. We'll take a look at that. We'll take a look at that program and see how they did it. There are a lot of places that are being very creative depending on different pots of funds that are available. I'd also be interested to know whether this is something that's set up as a pilot or as something that is long-term. So I think internally this is something we can look at. As we move forward and take paratransit in-house, we're going to start looking at more creative ways to provide public transportation, more efficient ways to provide paratransit. So thank you for your input on that.
And then I have one more question in regards to Ddot taking over paratransit. Will we still be using the eco lane system when it comes to paratransit service? Or is there a different system? And if there is a different system, is there an app that goes along with whatever system that we will be using?
We're going to be doing an announcement of the entire layout. So giving a lot of the information is preliminary, but I can tell you right now, we are looking at Equalane from a if it ain't broke, don't fix it standpoint. So we are looking at Ecolane as the option, but that's more of how we will internally be managing and creating manifests and those type of things.
Okay. I just had a meeting recently with Simone Lowe and the developer of the Ecolane app in regards to fixing some of the bugs when it comes to accessibility to the visually impaired. If you need additional feedback on that, I'd be more than willing to provide it. Simone is passing my contact information on to the developer because there were some bugs that they just weren't quite aware of, but as an end user, and I've rallied the troops to kind of continue to test out the system so that we can give them additional feedback as far as the visually impaired community.
It's fantastic. Michael?
If I can jump in real quickly on the taxi voucher program, having operated service in the city of Chicago under contract to PACE, there is a voucher program that is in place. It is a separate funding source, but I'd be happy to reach out to some of my contacts and do a little research on the specifics of that voucher program, how it works, how it's funded, and kind of what the rules of the game are regarding it.
Great.
Okay. And does anyone else have any questions, questions or concerns? Okay, well, I do have three questions. Now. One thing I thought about, I know Ddot's in the process of hiring new drivers, and I just want to know, are the new drivers going through sensitivity training to as far in regards to providing service to people with disabilities?
Dawn Lawson, can you answer that? Dawn?
Yes, I didn't know if Melvin wanted to answer that, but yes, there is, as part of the curriculum, Ms. Bryant, there is a section on sensitivity and ADA requirements. Previously, prior to the pandemic, I used to go to those trainings to ensure, and that's something that I've talked to training to start going back to some of those classes to make sure that the classes are being offered as they should be. So yes, they are getting that exposure. One of the challenges is to make sure once they're driving that they adhere to all those policies and such. And that's another issue that we are looking at and trying to resolve.
Okay. Okay, and the next question I had was this is for the transit police. I was wondering what is the procedure for monitoring the buses, the Ddot fixed route buses?
Okay, I'm sorry, I was unmuting. Finish the last part of your question.
Yes, yes, my question was how does the transit police monitor the Ddot buses? Do they frequently ride on the coaches, or how do they handle that process?
There are several procedures that we have. Excellent question. We do ride the buses. We have specific buses that we receive information or complaints of, and our officers will ride those buses specifically. The drivers have contact with Ddot Control, which has direct contact through us, and also 911 dispatcher. Sometimes citizens on the buses will call 911 if there's an incident, and the DPD dispatcher will dispatch transit cars to the scene.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Okay, my next question is regarding the Rosa Parks Transit Center. I know that I am aware that they do have automatic doors, and I was just wondering, how does is there like routine? Is there a procedure to just keep up the routine maintenance of the doors, just to make sure they're in operation?
Melvin Barkley, Deputy Director for Maintenance and Operations. Yes, sir, we do maintenance of them. We do check them daily. We do have a foreman down there who is addressing any issue he comes upon with doors. Myself and the Executive Director and other management go down there regularly, and we check out the service and we address any issues that we do see.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Barkley. Okay. Is there any more questions and concerns from anyone from the LAC board? Okay, I will now turn it over to public comment, and each person will have two.
I have something else to say. She talked about same day service. Also, do you, I know I have finished appointment early, and I have called and asked them, could I get a pickup? And is that considered like a same day service?
Good morning, Simone Moore, General Manager. Yes, ma'am, it is considered a same day service. Anytime that there are any adjustments that you call for your regularly scheduled trip, that would be same day service. And then some people do it from scratch. They forget to call in and they need to travel to their destination, but it's all based on availability.
Okay, all right, I see. Also, how long do a person, I was told by a person that they stayed in the car for so long, they were so tired that They said that they got picked up on one side of town, went to the other, came back to the other side of town when they could have been dropped off way ahead of time. About how long does a person ride in a car?
Okay, I'm sorry to hear that that person experienced that. We also encourage them to call in anytime that they're traveling from one side of town to the other. But to answer your question, our service is comparable to the fixed bus route. So the same amount of time that it would take for someone to leave from their home address that's using the fixed route bus and wait on that coach and make the stops along the way to get to their destination is the same amount of time that it would take on the paratransit service. It is a shared ride as well, so it cannot exceed that time frame.
That's what I told them. They said, well, they could have went there and came back twice in that number of time. So I told them they should have called in and reported it. But from what I understood, that was the way the driver told them that was the way it was scheduled.
Yes, if you have the information, I would be more than happy to take it and research the person for you.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions or concerns? Okay, now we'll turn over to the public comment. And each person has 2 minutes per comment.
Okay, we'll go with the people that have the raised hand. So Steve Handshoe.
Good morning. Has my attempt to unmute been successful? Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes.
It's really hard in 2 minutes to even begin to scratch the surface of all of the things that I need to say. And I've been asking for some time that the time limit be extended. Mr. Oglesby, you haven't talked to all of the consumer organizations. You haven't talked to the National Federation of the Blind. We have been attempting to meet with you since you came on board. In addition, we've been attempting to meet with our new paratransit director, and several staff people have let me know that you didn't want him to meet with us until you had talked to him. So we've been unable to meet with him either. I'm really glad that you finally came to an LAC meeting that I'm at. We really do want to work with you cooperatively. It seems difficult. On New Freedom, we want New Freedom, but we want it to be functional. We want something to fill the hole that New Freedom sometimes does, but often doesn't. I, for example, will next, as of today, I will be getting a Thursday of this week, I will be starting a course of therapy in Farmington Hills. I was told by senior staff at Metrolift, and it was a very cordial conversation. She just said, I'm sorry, we can't set up a subscription for you, even if you have weekly appointments, because we have so much trouble getting drivers to take New Freedom routes. Now, I don't understand the ins and outs of the draconian way that the providers
Steve,
that we have.
your time is up. We'll get back to you if there's time allowed, and you can continue with your question. But thank you for your comments, and we'll see if anyone would like to respond to Mr. Handshoe's.
I'd like to respond to Mr. Handshoe. I wasn't aware that your claim is that you were being blocked. I haven't opened. I'm wide open, so I'm really surprised at that. So this is what we'll do. I'm going to talk to Don Lozen. We'll get your information. You tell me which group has been having a problem, and we'll set up a meeting. I have no problem with that. As a matter of fact, sooner than later, and Mr. Staley will be there, and we can have a open discussion to go over all of your concerns. To say that Mr. Staley is not able to talk until I speak to them is not factual. So whoever you spoke to, you might want to go back to them and let them know that that was not a factual statement. But again, I have no problem sitting with all groups. As a matter of fact, there are meetings set up all the time. I'm very straightforward, and I hope that you give me the opportunity to talk to you and listen to you. So if you're true to your word, which is you want to help, I need your help. So let's set up the meeting. Fair enough?
If I'm still unmuted, it's definitely fair enough, sir.
Okay, very good. Ms. Moore?
Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay, good morning, Mr. Hanshu. Thank you. You and I have had several conversations, so thank you very much for the feedback. As far as New Freedom, there has always been a rule where there are no subscriptions on the New Freedom program. So unfortunately, it's first come, first serve, and we schedule 14 days in advance. So you'll be able to call in based on availability to schedule that ride. Unfortunately, as I mentioned at the onset of the meeting, we are limited with the amount of staff. I'm not exactly sure who conveyed that information, but it's not just New Freedom, it's paratransit as well. So rides are all based on availability. And if the service that we have out on the road with New Freedom is already full by the time that you call, then unfortunately there is nothing else to add there.
I will, let me add to that. I will say that as we move forward, if there's an opportunity when we take over for us to continue New Freedom, and again, that's if, I don't want at the next meeting for someone to say, I said it's gonna happen. We will take a look at how it is taking place. Hopefully we'll have a setup with plenty of operators and plenty of service. That's the goal. That's the way that we've set the RFP up, and I believe we'll be able to accomplish that. But again, we can't control the economy, we can't control the pandemic, and we're having issues hiring in every department. The chief was very kind in talking about deployment and being out in the field, but we're really hurting for police officers on top of it. I mean, every position. So I think that is a little bit of the overflow of your frustration, but I will say that if we do have an opportunity to extend it, I'll talk to Mr. Staley and we'll try to get creative.
Okay, is anyone else?
Yeah, Jamie Jr., can you ask your question, please?
Yes, am I able to be heard?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Couple of, well, only one major question. And it's regarding the New Freedom application. I'm new to this process. I just received my application. And I'm wondering that if a person is already a Metrolift rider that has an active Metrolift ID number, why do they have to get a physician statement again?
Simone Moore, that would not be required. If you are already an active Metrolift rider, you can submit that New Freedom application indicating that you would like the service, but we would be able to use your same medical verification form from your ADA application. So applications are mailed out to whoever requests one. And if you are already a current Metrolift rider, we can still use that same medical information.
Okay, thank you. And that's the same for the ID information as well?
A valid ID?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, okay. Okay,
Yes.
thank you for that. Then I do have one last comment. So Mr. Bryant asked about, this is not for Metrolift, this is for fixed line route drivers. He asked a question about sensitivity training. for the new drivers coming on board, and I heard the response that they are being trained in ADA. I would like to make it very clear that ADA compliance and treating someone with respect and dignity and making sure that they have what they need is quite different. I understand that you can't always go above and beyond, but if a person has difficulty communicating verbally and they need help and they're trying to get you help, there's no reason why the police, they're trying to get their point across. There's no reason why the police should be called on them. I've heard of that happening and the ADA would not help with that. There needs to be additional training beyond this simple ADA compliance, and it would be best done with someone with a disability as a co-presenter. And I think Mr. Lozen mentioned that he did that before. I think that should be implemented always.
That's a good point, Jamie. And, not making excuses, but we haven't had the opportunities over the last couple of years to, do those kind of programs. Prior to the pandemic, we even had exercises for the general administrative staff to go out and, ride the bus on a wheelchair and do those kind of things. I think as we evolve forward in the next few months, we can start planning to do those kind of things. And I know you're an expert in this area, and we'll be glad to use your expertise and your willingness to help us to, create some programs that will be viable and productive for not only administrative staff, but all of operational staff. So thank you for your question.
Okay, thank you for that. I think I'm at my time now.
Yes, you are. Okay, thank you.
Also, just mention, you mentioned earlier that if anybody needed assistance to put it in the chat, just to let you know the chat is disabled for the attendees, so that wouldn't have been possible. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for letting me know. Are there any other people besides Mr. Hanshoe that have a comment? If so, if you could raise your hand. Seeing none, I'll go back to Mr. Hanshoe.
Hi, am I heard?
Yes, you heard.
Thank you, Don. And Mr. Oglesby, absolutely. I look forward to meeting with you along with officers of the National Federation of the Blind. And yes, we do want to cooperate. We really don't. I don't want to go to any more meetings frustrated with lots of complaints, talking to people like myself who are just trying to, get a paycheck, get through the day, survive, and do a good job. And I think most of us are, and we're trapped in systems that make it very difficult. So I have been told by many drivers that they don't want to drive New Freedom because they lose money. I don't understand the Byzantine pay structure that they have reported to me, but several very, very good drivers who are well liked by the customers and the riders. And there are drivers who aren't, and there are drivers who are. These are people we feel are reliable. They have told us that the system is set up in a way that makes it very difficult for them to serve us. And so that requires some systemic thought. I want to indicate that I think a major problem with the paratransit is in dispatch and disorganization. I was one yesterday, just yesterday. It happens all the time. The driver said to me, we're passing your place. We're going a mile from your place, but unfortunately, I'm not permitted to drop you off first. I've got 2 other pickups and a drop off that I have to do before you, because that's what the tablet says, and I'm told to follow the tablet and not to use my brain. Well, I understand that people need to follow the tablet, but when the tablet makes no sense, they can't call the dispatcher and work things out. Also yesterday morning, I was on the ride. It happens it came 15 minutes outside of the window. I haven't yet processed that complaint because I'm at this meeting. And so I haven't had time to process that complaint. I got a courtesy call from the dispatch asking me where I was because there was a driver at a different location waiting for me to take me to the same place I was going. I don't know where that ghost ride came from. It's a pickup location that I frequently use. So I don't understand how that ride was generated, but if that doesn't demonstrate a problem with dispatch, I don't know what would. I really do. Oh,
Steve, your time is up.
Okay, I'm going to ask for a third shot at the apple if there, when other people have gotten to speak.
Well, I don't know if there are anybody. Are you about done though? Continue. Go ahead.
Stephen, if
go
you're
ahead.
still
there,
Stephen,
go ahead.
Stephen, if you're still there, please continue. I'd like to hear the rest of what you have to say.
Steve? Where'd you go, Steve?
If he's gone, hopefully he'll
Thanks.
keep
No,
those-
I'm back. I'm back.
Okay,
Thank
continue.
you. It got away from me that I had to unmute again.
Okay.
So thank you, Mr. Oglesby. Certainly you're presenting as very forthright and open, and I'm appreciative of those things. And we are all trying to fix something that's broke. So I don't think fixed route or paratransit or New Freedom, I don't think we can say if it ain't broke, don't fix it, because none of them are working properly. When I moved to Detroit in 1970, I left Manhattan. Now, no system in the country is like living in Manhattan for public transit. I think we'd all agree with that. But even having come from Manhattan, I found it possible to use the fixed routes and get around. And I didn't spend my life feeling that transportation was more work than I had to do when I got to the end of my trip. And that's the way it is now. So on fixed route, we have lots of problems. None of the crosstown buses run properly. They're not reliable. They often don't show up. They often have nothing to do with the schedules that are posted. I can't rely on them. I've waited as long as 3 hours for a bus on the 6 mile route. The 5 mile route isn't much better. The Southfield route is only theoretical. It's basically a joke. If the Southfield route worked and was available 7 days a week on a reasonable schedule, a lot of my paratransit trips would not be necessary. So I'm a guy who's trying not to tax the system. With New Freedom, yeah, everything Simone said is true, but what is left out here, and Simone, please, I'm not trying not to, it's not personal. Simone has been as helpful as a person can be within a system that doesn't work. And she has always been, I've never brought a complaint to her that she has not attempted to resolve within the parameters that she's allowed to function in, but the parameters aren't wide enough. Now, we have said for many years, the vehicles that Bright Transportation uses should not be in a paratransit system. They are the worst of them. Most of the vehicles in the paratransit system are very difficult for seniors to get in and out of, let alone people with disabilities. I'm a relatively spry 75-year-old. I found the Bright Transportation vehicles to be damn near impossible to get in and out of. They sent out one vehicle I've seen 3 times in the last couple of months that has had a broken step, and it's sent out over and over and over again. And the driver looks at me and shrugs his shoulders sadly and says, I keep writing it up. And they keep sending me out in it. So I also want to say to you, I do not look for a lot of improvement if we have multiple providers as we have now, because it gets to be a kind of a bait and switch situation. I have traveled paratransit and fixed route in Tampa, Florida, in Chicago, Illinois, in the city of New York, and in Minneapolis. And I'm an absolutely dedicated, I'm going to die in Detroit kind of guy. But sadly, there are days that I wonder whether I ought to move because I can't travel effectively in this city. And it causes stress between me and my friends and me and my family, because I simply can't rely on these systems. So, I know that's a mouthful. And frankly, I think it's going to take a partnership between you and people in the community to try to solve this problem. And it's gonna require some changes from the mayor's office and the council in terms of the priority that they give to transportation. One thing that I think you could help us with quickly is, I guess nothing's quickly when you have to work between 2 regions. I think it is absurd that we don't have a unified eligibility for paratransit and for New Freedom and for Smarts paratransit. That and we've been asking for that since I came back to Detroit in 2016. So, that is something that I think would be a very helpful thing to us. And I'll conclude my remarks with that. There's a lot of work to be done. And, I say that hoping that it's taken in the spirit that it's meant, that I'm not throwing stones at anybody. These problems preceded all of us, and some of them may go on after us, but I'd like to hope that that's fewer rather than more. And just one last thought, and that is back to the subscription question. If I wind up with a weekly appointment for 6 or 8 weeks, it doesn't seem to be too much to ask that could be accommodated. It's a medical appointment. And the way New Freedom is functioning now, I've been told, even if you post the ride, it might not happen. That's pretty scary stuff. That concludes my remarks, and thank you very much for your graciousness on time.
Well, thank you. Don, if you don't mind, that was a mouthful. I don't think I can answer everything, but I know I will answer it when I sit down with you and we meet. I'll be able to answer each one of those pieces, but I can touch on a few if you'd like. Don, do we have time?
We have time. I just want to make sure we have other people, give them the opportunity to ask a question. But I would just say, when you meet with Steve, prepare yourself for a lengthy meeting.
Absolutely. Let me just touch on one thing, just 2 things then. He did bring up some very important stuff. The first thing is eligibility. He and I are both on the same page there. We need to have one unified front. I talked to Don about this. I have talked to Smart about this. I've talked to the RTA about this. I've talked to Wayne State about this. We are in the process of looking at trying to come up with a unified way to do eligibility. So that is in the works. I'm hoping that we have something prepared when we get ready to take over and maybe launch it. I don't know. I may be dreaming, but I'm being very aggressive in that standpoint. When you say the ride, New Freedom, and fixed route don't work, and the ain't broke, don't fix it part, I'm going to agree with you on portions. Portions of fixed routes doing great because we had to downsize. But then now we're increasing it. And as we're increasing it and not having the people, yeah, it's not going to work. We get people, it'll work. New Freedom, we're obviously going to take a look at that when we move forward, if we extend it, how we're going to do that. And of course, the ride solution is pretty simple. The complaints have been over the past 6 years. We're going to take it in-house. Now your complaints are going to be directly to us. We're going to be directly responsible. So it'll be a different communication platform. But again, thank you for all of your input. I've written down a lot of this, and I'll talk to Michael Stilly, and more importantly, Mr. Barkley in operations. And we're going to be able to treat some of this as low-hanging fruit to fix it quickly, and others, it'll be long-term.
Okay, thank you. I see Jamie has her hand up. So if you have unmute yourself here.
Okay, thank you. Just really quickly, I don't want to take up more time than I have to. For anyone that's interested, I'll put my information in the chat. If anyone needs to get in contact with me. The other thing I would say, as you guys overhaul the eco lanes or app situation, you may want to think about ways to incorporate payment, electronic payment, because sometimes it's difficult to get cash money in today's digital cash system. And then if a person needs to report the amount of money they're spending on transportation for their Social Security benefits to remain intact, if that's something they do, they need receipts. And if you're making cash payments, there's no way to get receipts. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Just one last call to anyone who may have a question. Please raise your hand or open your mic so we know that you have a question. Not seeing any hands raised or anyone opening their mic. Mr. Bryant, I believe we're done with public comments. So back to you.
Okay. 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 And I would like to make a motion to. So our next meeting is on the November 15th, 2022. And I need someone to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Before we do that, though, I just want to remind people that the DDOT's Title VI coordinators would like to handle and have you do a survey, and that link is on the chat. Also, I apologize again for the interpreter not being here. Apparently, she was out of the country and some things happened. So anyways, I apologize for that. If you do need the transcript of some sort of this meeting to fully understand the content, please contact me so that I can accommodate you. Other than that, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have to say.
Okay.
I second that.
Okay. Okay. Well. Okay. I'd like to adjourn this meeting at 11. Let's see. Yeah, I'd like to adjourn this meeting at 11. What's what time?
11:28.
11:28.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. See you next meeting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.